The Wilier Filante is one of the best looking bikes in my opinion, combining gorgeous looks with high speed and low weight. And now with a brand new version. Some 5 years after first launching, meet the all new Filante SLR ID2. I've ridden the bike in Italy, so this is my first ride experience. There is a full review coming in the near future, so make sure you subscribe if you want to see that. But first, let's dive into details and updates on the brand new bike. While some bike companies have gone wild in the pursuit of mad aero, think the Carnago Y1 RS or Cervelo S5, the Filante SLR does not deviate too far from its original design, which is a good thing in my book because it's still a great looking bike. Wilier says the main focus of the update has been aerodynamics. It was happy with the weight, so that remains about the same, and the stiffness is slightly increased but largely the same as well. It's all about aero and working with the Group Armour FDJ team they sponsor. And there are two main changes, the handlebar and the water bottle. And lots of the tweaks to the frame are inspired or brought about from the development of the Rave SLR gravel bike, which I reviewed a few weeks ago. Link to that review above in case you missed it. A big focus with the new bike is the rider and bike interaction on aerodynamics, which led to a new narrower handlebar that pushes right up to current UCI rules, so as narrow as it gets. It then worked with fellow Italian company Elite on the aero kit, the aero-shaped bottles and cages, which are a key feature of the brand new bike. We've seen this style of aero bottle on other bikes in the past, the BMC with similar cages that blend into the frame, and the Trek Madone as well. The new bottles give a total capacity of 1100 millilitres, and they take some getting used to, like any aero bottle if you're more used to round bottles, as most of us are. But they do work pretty well, and after a few hours on the bike I was fairly happy with them. And yes, they are compatible with regular old-fashioned round bottle too, but limited to 550ml on the down tube, so a small bottle, and a larger 750 on the seat tube. The result of these changes leads Wilier to claim a 13.6% drag reduction for just the bike, or 4.5% for the rider on the bike, when tested at 50 km/h. Yeah, a reminder that bike companies are really mainly focused on the needs of the pro athletes who will race a bike at those speeds and beyond, not us mere mortals tootling around at 30 km/h. And it claims on a 70 kilometre course at an average power output of 290 watts, you can save 1 minute 45 seconds on a brand new bike. So if you're in a hurry to get around your favourite course measuring 70 kilometres, the new Wilier Filante is faster and will save you time over the old bike. But joking aside, for the pros, faster is what they want because the racing, as we know, is extremely fast these days and they take all the aero gains they can get. Now, interestingly, Wilier claims the new bike is more aero than 5 rival bikes in its own testing, but sadly, oddly, doesn't reveal which the bikes are. Not sure why really, maybe just being modest, I don't know. So let me hear your guesses on the 5 bikes down below. I'd hazard a guess at a Pinarello Dogma F, a Specialized Tarmac SL8 maybe, Canyon Aero, Trek Madone SLR, Cannondale Super 6 Evo, and possibly the Carnago V5 RS. So other lightweight aero bikes, I doubt they put it up against the BMC Team Machine R, the Carnago Y1 RS or Cervelo S5. I guess those bikes are way more aero than the Filante. Could be wrong though. Love to see some independent testing on the new bike versus other bikes. And I can't wait to do a lap of the Just Ride bike test track on the new bike to see how it stacks up and if it can topple the current leader on that leaderboard, the BMC Team Machine R. So we have a brand new updated F-bar handlebar, cleaner and more aero, integration with a computer mount like on the Ferto Carle, so really nice detail and not an afterthought for a computer mount like many bike companies. It's a small thing, but considering we all use computers on bikes like this, having a solid, nice, seamless computer mount makes a lot of sense, especially given the price of the bikes these days. And all bikes come with narrow handlebars too, which is a good move. So 37cm tops and 40cm drops, down to 35, 38 on the XS, and up to 39.42 on the XL. So a good move and follows the likes of Trek and BMC in speccing narrow handlebars across the size range. They have them sort of size specific as well. Unlike Specialized with the Tarmac SLR Pro I rode a little while ago, which had a super wide handlebar on an aero bike, which is crazy given we know narrow is more aero and therefore faster. Tyre clearance has increased to 34, so a good move from the 32 that's fairly standard on race bikes. The Di2 battery now goes inside the bottom of the frame and the seat post is now too narrow, like we've seen on the Tarmac and other bikes. We have cover through axle openings on the drive side, like many brands, Canyon, Pinarello are doing, so it looks really clean and smooth. And frames now come with a inline seat post as standard, and this is based on pro rider feedback for that more forward biased position that many riders are going for, trying to get right over the bottom bracket and right over the handlebars, super aggressive with short cranks as well. And you can option a 50mm offset post if you want. So an interesting move. We're seeing some brands go for a steeper seat tube angle, like on the Ridley Noah, and going for inline is a move we've seen from the likes of 3T in the past as well, so becoming a trend. The stem is now recessed into the top tube with a cutout to try and lower the handlebar for a smaller frontal surface area as well, so really trying to nibble away at the aero gains where possible. The fork blades have been re-profiled, the head tube is pinched in and narrow, there's a new aero seat post, and the rear stays, they're still dropped like before, but they sort of angled the stays over a bit to get a bit more of an aero gain at the back of the bike. Frame weight remains as before. They could have tried to make it lighter perhaps. They had the Verticale, their lightweight bike, but given the adoption of aero bikes in the pro peloton and anybody buying a race bike these days, really trying to make it a bit lighter would have been a smart move. You can still build a 7-kilo bike, so not exactly heavy, but we're seeing what can be achieved if a brand really focuses on lightweight, like the Tarmac S8 for example, still one of the lightest aero bikes you can buy on the market these days. Which brings me to the price, and Italian bikes are rarely cheap, are they? And here, Wilier doesn't buck the trend at all. A frame set is €5,800, while complete bikes start from just under €10,000 with Shimano Ultegra Di2 and top out at over €13,000 with Campag Super Record Wireless group set. See, I said it wasn't cheap. And the company is speccing its own Mike wheels. So Wilier bought Mike, the component brand, a few years ago, and they are speccing the Kleos RD50, the 50mm deep wheel across the entire range. Prices do include a computer mount, which some top-end bikes crazily don't, and of course the aero kit comprising the cages and the bottle too. And quite a few bikes have power meters included in the price, which is a good move because some bikes don't come with power meters at that price. So, how's the new bike ride? Well, I've had one ride around Italy, so very much a first impression only. I know this isn't ideal. How can you say anything about a brand new bike on one ride on unfamiliar roads? I'd rather have a few weeks on my local roads for sure. Well, for me, one ride is definitely enough to get a good taste of the bike, a good impression of the bike before I go for a full review on the bike when it arrives in the next few weeks. So despite that one ride, there are a few key takeaways that really stand out. And most clearly is how the new bike feels like the old bike, but the biggest difference is the ergonomics of the handlebar. It's narrower and that feels faster, and it's faster and an easy win. And it's a nice shaped handlebar too. I like the flare that keeps the hoods in that vertical upright position, slightly canted over for more aero. And if you've not used narrow handlebars, as I'm sure many people haven't, it does take some getting used to. They do feel very different to the wider handlebars many bikes have been spec'd with for the last few years, but generally feels pretty good. The steering through corners, reaction to sprints and pace on climbs all feel similar to the old bike as well, which it should do given there's no real difference in weight and stiffness. The bottom bracket is a bit stiffer, but without having two bikes side by side, it's really hard to tell there's much difference. But generally, it's a lovely riding bike, and I enjoyed some lovely sweeping roads through the vineyards of northern Italy, and I felt right at home on a bike within a few minutes and able to really squeeze out some speed, jostling with fellow journalists Ronan from Escape and Tom from Cycling News. We really hit some high speed on some flowing sections and a good chance to really test the bike, that stiffness, that position, the fit, and just that general speed of the bike, and it is a quick bike. But is it quick enough? It does remind me of the Filante SLR in its speed and general reactivity to inputs. It's not as lively or poppy as the Tarmac S8, which is much lighter, and it's definitely not a rocket ship in the aero department like the BMC Team Machine are. So I can't wait to do a lap of the Just Ride bike test track when the bike arrives for testing to see how fast it is against the Tarmac, against the Canyon Air Road, and against the BMC Team Machine R, which is currently the leader on that leaderboard. Bikes come in 6 sizes, and I was riding a large, my usual size from Wilier, roughly a 56 centimeter, and was a good fit for my height and dimension of 181 centimeter tall. As I mentioned earlier, Wilier now owns Mieke and is using the Cleos RD50 wheels across the entire range with nice wide 30mm tyres, and it's a great combo. Conditions on our test ride are pretty good. There are a few windy sections, so not enough to really test the crosswind stability, but they seem well balanced, they felt pretty good, the weight's reasonably low, and the internal width is good for a wide tyre, so yeah, no real complaints. I guess the question is whether the wheels really do justice to the frame, or whether they're holding the bike back compared to another high-spec wheel like a Zip or an MV or something else perhaps. As I've come to expect over the years, the roads in Italy are often quite bad, and we rode some terrible bits of tarmac where they've been battered by farming vehicles, really crumbly and crappy. But the bike felt composed and supple, suggesting it does exhibit the same smoothness as the original, and the original was a smooth riding bike, one of the smoother riding aero bikes in my experience. There wasn't really anything wrong with the Filante. It's aged exceptionally well, and I prefer its simpler look to a new one if I'm speaking honestly. But new trumps old when it comes to buying bikes, and comparing essentially a 5-year-old bike design to something newer and fresher, the Filante was in a losing battle. And Wilier's updates are modest but well chosen and breathe new life into the bike that should help it remain a relevant choice if you're in the market for an aero race bike. Not as aero as some other bikes, but doesn't look as crazy as those mad aero bikes out there. And for those people who want a fast bike, they're reassured by testing, but not really examining the white paper and not really obsessed about a few watts here or there, it's a really good choice. It looks fantastic, comes in some fantastic colors, rides really well, it's smooth, it's reasonably light, it's fast. It's quite pricey, but hopefully there'll be an SL version coming out in the next few months or next year, which will bring that design down to a lower price point with a different carbon mold layout to make it a bit more accessible, because the starting prices are fairly high, gotta be said, so not the most competitive on price based on first impression. But this is very much a first impression video, and there will be a full review coming very soon. Hopefully a nice mid-range, slightly more affordable spec than the range shopping bike I rode in Italy. So there we go, new Filante SLR ID2. Let me know your thoughts on the new bike, and if it's on your short list or making it onto your short list, by dropping a comment down below. And if you want to see a roundup of some of the best aero bikes you can currently buy, then check out the video right up here. But that is all today. I'll see you again very soon. Thank you so much for watching.